Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
Today we're looking at one of the brand new origins coming in Stellaris Biogenesis, the Evolutionary Predators origin, which is basically a new genetic mutation Ascension origin. On top of that, we're going to be looking at a host of brand new phenotype traits that Biogenesis will be adding to the game, coming to species you already know and love. All of this started way back in summer 2019 when Aladrin, who was just a game designer then and not the game director, was left alone in the office with the Lithoids DLC. Once people came back to the office, they were greeted with the Lithoid traits. Since then, Alfred has further experimented with these phenotype locked traits back in 3.1 Lem for fungoids and plantoids. Now that we've reached the DLC that is about genetics and organics, of course, we're going to take this to the end game. And for that reason, Iggy has been working on the phenotype species traits, and that naturally led to the Evolutionary Predators origin. I do need to say an apology here to Iggy. As we go through this dev diary, I'm going to accidentally say Alfred repeatedly, apparently. I've just snuck this in here to say sorry. When I say Alfred in a moment, every time, just say the word Iggy in your head, ladies and gentlemen. I need to say a massive thank you to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. Do you think you know your Star Trek universe? Kirk, Spock, Picard, Janeway. How well do you really know their stories? Dive into their epic journeys in Star Trek Fleet Command, the ultimate strategy game where you build your fleet, explore the galaxy, and make bold choices that shape your legacy. You can play it seamlessly for free on PC or mobile. Use our link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to download the game for free. In your first 20 levels, you'll grow from cadet to commander, guided by legends like Spock and Uhura, while battling enemies and building your starbase. New players, don't miss the 7-day login rewards. You'll unlock the epic Romulan Captain Nero, and right now, you can use the promo code SECTION31 to get Officer Marcus for free. Available until May 31st. Don't forget to hit that link or scan the QR code. The galaxy needs a leader. Will you answer the call? In Biogenesis, the developers have added 16 new species traits that you can explore right from the start of the game. Each of these is going to be locked to a specific portrait class, or as they refer to them, phenotype. That is, of course, things like mammal, molluscoid, avian, reptilian. Now, for those of you that might not know, quite a few of these species packs give you a new phenotype, for example necroids, and also a host of traits to go along with that phenotype. The first example of this happening was with lithoids a long time ago, so I'm very excited to hear they're now bringing this into all of the basic species types with Biogenesis, so every single species type, be they reptilian, mammalian, humanoid, whatever, are always going to have unique traits, which should make them slightly different with each playthrough. At a minimum, each phenotype should have at least 2 positive traits and 1 negative. As you can see in this image here, these traits are actually shared between phenotypes, similar to fungoids and plantoids. For example, this is the shelled trait, granting minus 75% housing usage and plus 10% habitability for a total of 3 points, which is pretty expensive, I'd say, and it can be picked by either molluscoid or necroid species. The intention of these traits was to make a necroid Beacon of Liberty subterranean playthrough feel different than a reptilian Beacon of Liberty subterranean playthrough. Every choice in Stellaris should be an opportunity for mechanics and roleplay, and should allow you to differentiate your species from others. Here we can see permeable skin, which is only available to molluscoid and aquatic species. This one will give you a minus 20% habitability on worlds with a different climate category to your preference. It's kind of like the negative from the aquatic trait, but you'll get 1 point refunded by taking this negative. Here we have a very interesting one available to fungoids and plantoids. This is the rooted trait. It's going to refund 3 points. It will give you minus 75% pop growth from immigration and plus 100% resettlement cost. And on top of that, the biggest negative, pops will never automatically resettle between your worlds. We also get to see here, and in the last couple of images, some of the new species portraits that are coming in. I don't know if you noticed, but these portraits are not portraits we have ever seen before. We're also seeing new traits here: egg laying, camouflage, acidic vascularity, familial. There are a host of new biological features coming in the game. The devs say that negative traits are really interesting to design as they set up puzzles for players to get around. What you can forego and what you're willing to pay for that intelligent trait to give you a good boost to research. Here they have attempted to stay flavorful to the species you pick while providing more interesting modifiers than just simple static upkeep ones. In addition, the devs have played it a bit looser with points costs here, introducing quite a few more 3-point traits that can really grant you the opportunity to craft the species that fits your fantasy. If you go down the Biogenesis Ascension path, that is the new biological ascension path, and end up pushing into Mutation, you could end up with this tradition pick, Unnatural Selection. This allows you to ignore the phenotype restrictions, so you can basically go full mad scientist and add any traits you want to your pops. Make your egg-laying winged humans and wonder why the aliens won't call you. Phenotype traits with species modification can add negative traits with species modification as well. This is kind of similar to the previous basic biological ascension finisher. You can alter pop appearance with species modification, and you can get more organic species modification points and trait picks alongside a reduction to the Modify Species Special project. So it's really looking like, at the moment, the mutation path in the new Biogenesis Ascension will be the species modification path for biological ascension. We also have an interesting little tidbit that was shared by one of the developers. And if you're enjoying this video, please unnaturally select that like button. So, if you go down the mutation path, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. Granted, by the mutation approach, you can get environmental integration. The founder species' current habitability trait is replaced with mutagenic habitability. Species with mutagenic habitability can reach not just 100%, but in fact 200% habitability. And for every 10% your species is above 100%, you will get an increase to job efficiency of 2.5%, and a reduction to pop housing usage and pop amenities usage of 2.5%. In total, at the maximum, this is going to give 25% more job efficiency, minus 25% pop housing, and minus 25% pop amenity usage. Those are a lot of nice bonuses to get from just a single additional trait. And what I think is also quite fun here is that we're finally actually able to utilize that additional habitability in the mid to late game when we hit 100%, but we still have additional technologies and bonuses and ways of getting up extra habitability. Now it's actually going to mean something. On top of that, there is the Divergence Directive Council agenda, which seems to add the mutagenic habitability trait to possibly another species, so you can expand beyond just your founding species to get this pretty cool trait if you go down the mutation path. If you're wondering how you can boost your habitability comfortably up to that lovely 200% mark, well, don't worry, there are new traits like genetic memory that are going to help you out. This one grants plus 0.5% habitability per year based on the age of the colony. So if the colony is 30 years old, you're going to be getting an additional 15% habitability. Without mutation, this is a mediocre trait at best for 3 points. With mutation, this suddenly starts to look pretty darn useful. All of these new phenotype traits as well will be fully compatible with all the portraits that the devs have in the game, including the new free mammalian portraits coming in 4.0. Yes, you heard right, there are new free mammalian portraits, as you may have noticed from the screenshots we've been seeing. So get ready to break out that ancient Hydra portrait and see what havoc you can bring to the galaxy. There's one more thing the devs want to show us though, and that is the egg-laying trait. This one is a little bit interesting. It kind of harkens back to the old days of Stellaris 1.0, where a food surplus would be needed and useful for getting additional population growth. Egg laying when living on a planet with a local food or mineral, depending on your species type, production surplus, you'll get a pop growth speed bonus of 15%. So as long as you have some farmers on your planet, this trait, which is going to cost you 2 points, is going to give you an additional 15% population growth. I wonder if this is compatible with incubators or rapid breeders. That would be very, very interesting to find out. A lot of port traits don't fit nicely into a single category. And for that, the developers have managed to make a few exceptions. So you can get egg-laying platypi. Even though the platypus is a mammal, neither an avian or a reptile, it can of course lay eggs. You can have some flying monkeys, especially the ones with wings, budding coral reefs, shelled turtles, and even more. It's now time to look at the brand new origin Evolutionary Predators that is coming with Biogenesis. If you know anything about the Kroot Carnivores, a species client race within the Tau Empire from Warhammer 40,000, you basically don't need to know any more about Evolutionary Predators because they're the Kroot Carnivore. Or if you've watched the David Tennant seasons of Doctor Who, they are the Krillitane. But anyway, let's find out what on earth is going on. So, if you're like Alfred, when you played Crusader Kings 2 back in the day and got the cannibal trait, you then lock people with good genetic traits inside your castle and eat them to gain said traits, and after that you said this is peak game design. Alfred wants to know if that's just him or not. Feel free to not have to comment if you're feeling called out. Either way, he wanted to bring that playstyle back to our very much more grounded and reality-bound game, Stellaris. And with the addition of Phenotype Traits, they finally have enough goodies to go around, introducing the Evolutionary Predators Ascension. Alright, look, it's actually an origin, but let's be honest here, this is the beginning of an Ascension path. Why do I say that? Well, this is going to block all Ascension paths except for the Mutation Ascension. You'll get the species trait Malleable Genes, a situation, the Adaptive Evolution situation, and your homeworld starts with some genetic soup. On top of that, you'll get +1 organic species trait picks. Om nom nom. This is an origin with very few restrictions. As long as you are organic, you're free to play it. Alfred worked hard to keep the language as neutral as possible if you want to be a former hunter of the night, spreading fear across your entire planet, but now you have reformed and adapted pacifism and xenophilia, then that's absolutely fine. Now, unprompted, let's look at a bat portrait. Introducing the Genetic Dominion, if you'll pardon the pun. This is a species of bats that have the Malleable Genes trait. It's a 6-pointer, and what on earth does it do? Well, it's an auto-modding trait that will automatically adjust to better suit the job that a pop is currently working. We also have the flight trait added in here, and then some traits we've already seen before, boring. But this origin comes with this unique trait, which blocks you from manually modifying your species. As you can see it costs a crazy 6 points. And it does then mean you have to pick quite a few negative traits at the start of the game. Luckily, your economy should still run, as Malleable Genes is the same as the auto-modding trait at the start, so you'll always get a bonus on every single job your pops are working, where that is applicable from the auto-modding gene at the start of the game. Tell me you know what I'm talking about. Right, once you get started, you'll then be greeted with the Adaptive Evolution situation, and a homeworld carrying the genetic soup modifier, which will help to boost your situation progress. Basically, what is going to happen is that you are going to consume the essence of other species and unlock genetic secrets from that essence and apply those secrets to your own species. The situation progresses faster from fresh colonies that you've established, having many species in your empire. Who would have guessed it? When there's more to eat, there's more to eat. Having a diverse council to be sampled, purging, excellent I know, through vassal agreements, and if you are a megacorp, through commercial pacts. What happens when you get to the end of this? Well, you will have consumed different genes from different species phenotypes, and then you'll be left with a choice. You're going to get this event Adaptive Evolution where you can pick a different phenotype and then get a special trait unique to that phenotype. You could also adapt to shifting climates, embrace the chaos, let your instincts guide you, or simply remain as you are because you hate fun. Here we can see one of the cool new traits that you could be getting if you go for, I believe that's a molluscoid trait, maybe the spare organs trait. Yes, molluscoid, necroid, and toxoid. Leaders will survive their first death. This is actually really, really, really strong. That just one death survival chance should massively increase the average lifespan of your rulers and leaders in general. On offensive army death, you'll get a 20% chance to spawn a replacement army. I really wonder if that also will work alongside zombie. If it does, that could be very, very fun. Finally, you'll also get plus 50% livestock output because Time Lords with spare organs are very, very tasty, apparently. You'll get 3 randomly generated options presented to you, which will grant you a random positive trait from that category. Each time you complete the situation, it does become more difficult to complete it again. But stay the course and always seek out novel genetic material, and you too can become an abomination unknowable by mortal Blorg. Yes, Alfred was called into a meeting with the UX designer when he first presented this despicable image of all of these crazy traits on a single species. How could you tell? Yeah, basically it seems like mutagenic habitability is going to be really, really good. Really, really good. This example above is pretty extreme and would only really happen in the mid and late game, but you can for sure get there if you try hard enough. As you can see, the edges of, well, once you genetically ascend, you can also get access to the genetic ascension traits of Alt, as well as your own bespoke Evolutionary Predators advanced authorities. Here we have the Deathless Dynasty. If you are Imperial, the Imperial Heir becomes a new ruler on death, and Imperial Heirs have a randomly selected leader class and no leader upkeep. So far, so sane. Then you get Empire size from Pops per species trait minus 1%. So if you've got 15 species traits, that's minus 15% Empire size from Pops. It also allows the ruler to consume great leaders when they pass. I don't quite know what that means, but okay. Minus 10% pop growth speed, but plus 10% monthly resources across the board. That is energy, that is research, that is unity, that is amazing. Biomagnates is not quite as exciting. You're going to get that reduction to empire size from Pops, and your counselors will be immortal with plus 2 counselor skill. It's not as good as plus 10% monthly resources across the board though, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. It was apparently very interesting designing authorities specific to a single origin. You can go a lot more granular with the flavor and consider what a truly complete evolutionary predator might look like. It seems that there are also some fun new events being added in too with this origin. For example, but they're cute. You're going to find some cute creatures, and maybe you should eat them for the good of genetic diversity, but maybe we shouldn't eat it straight away because it is very fluffy. One final step taken here with this origin was to go through every single event that mentions biological species of some kind and added an option to consume their DNA, which is what we're seeing here. If applicable, finally, when you discover that ancient avian pilot, you can gain flight, or shelled from that molluscoid that was buried in that archaeology site. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can go forth and eat the galaxy and become really kind of gross. Honestly, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but the longer Stellaris goes on, the more I'm starting to agree with the spiritualists, and the more I want to burn and destroy the biological ascenders and the synthetic ascenders and the cybernetic ascenders. Thanks again to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. You can boldly go where no one has gone before by using the link down in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video on the new genetic origin coming with Stellaris Biogenesis, but you'd like to find out a bit more about the new genetic ascension path, biomorphosis, you'll want to click the video on screen now.